All right. I'm back. Continuing adventures in streaming. I was going to do a 2-for-1 as I often do when I do streaming adventures, but I went over long with the last one. So I don't care if this one's long or short. It's going to be its own thing. It's going to stand on its own feet, man, be its own video. So this one I'm going to use probably a lot of cheat references on the side of the screen because of pronunciations of foreign names in a language that I'm not fluent in or I haven't gotten hang of saying often out loud. And that is the Czech language. So I don't know if I've told you guys before this or not on the channel, but I love the Czech New Wave films. I just, it's some of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Visuals are brilliant. Of course, that time period, like the late 60s to mid 70s, I guess, roughly mid 60s to mid 70s. And of course, Polish film posters are the greatest in the world. They are off the hook. Sometimes you have no clue what the movie is or what it has to do with the movie it's for, but you just don't care. It's like a frame. You could frame it as a work of art and hang it above your studio. I have a real weakness for the Easter Bloc films, and I don't even consider it a weakness. I love them. And some some wrong new wave, some Polish new waves that I like. Of course, I'll forget some. One that is very, very well known now has been a cult movie for years, and it's kind of gradually permeated to where I don't want to say it's mainstream, but people kind of who are into cinema, know about this movie and generally adore it. Is Daisies. I had a copy of Daisies. I sold it on DVD for $80. That was coming down from $100. The out of print one on Facets Video, which used to be an incredible company to get this stuff from, especially when it was on VHS. I sold it, and I sold it not because I thought a Blu-ray was on the horizon, though I would eventually own one if such a thing existed. It may be on the way. But Daisies didn't connect with me as strongly as it has with a lot of people. I mean, I have some friends who really adore Daisies, and I mean, I do like it, don't get me wrong. It's something I'd like in my permanent library one day, but I'm not super passionate about it. Of course, Jean Morel Gira's incredible Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. What more can you say? Have that on Criterion. I can't remember if I've ever reviewed it even on Halloween, but one day maybe. That's one of my favorites. The one called The Embalmer. I think it's called The Embalmer, which recently got a Criterion release. Begins with an E, the something. It's a creepy, weird black and white one. A lot of these are black and white. Daisies. That one's wild, and I have a feeling it's not The Embalmer. It's not The Enchanter. Begins with an E, though. A lot of you guys would know it right away. It's one a lot of people waited a long time to see. I had seen it on YouTube about 3 or 4 years ago. So it'd be lovely to see a restoration of that. If you want to go a little further, Wojciech Haas is somebody that I think is just tremendous. I think he technically is one of the most skilled filmmakers who ever lived. I just Saragossa Manuscript and The Hourglass Sanitarium are the two of his that I've seen that I own on Blu-ray, and there's a wonderful company. They have a really kind of silly name like Gonzo Video or something, but they put out wonderful editions. I don't think they're mastered in America. I think these were imports I got, but they were region free, and they might as well be region A. So they're the official releases of those in North America. They were both on sale years ago when I had money, and I bought both of them. I had seen Hourglass in part on YouTube, and I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I've only watched it all the way through one time. Uh, the story is something that I need to try a little harder to connect with. But visually, every shot's gorgeous. Now, the Saragossa manuscript came out years ago on Image Entertainment on DVD. I had that one. I sold that one about a year or so ago. And that became a perennial watch of mine. I had read about it in some cult movie magazines, and Coppola and Scorsese had put up some money to help do a nice restoration. Bless them. And Jerry Garcia, before he died, had helped get some attention to the film. It was one of his favorites when it first came out, watching it in art house theaters. But it's incredible. It's black and white, and it's very long. I think it's at least 3 hours long. I've seen it a lot of times, and that's a movie you kind of need to see a lot of times because it's a very complicated story. I almost, when I got the DVD, I almost thought about emailing Neil Gaiman and recommending the movie to him, but then I thought, I'm sure you've seen it a million times. But it's definitely the kind of movie that Neil Gaiman would love. Now, does it feel like a Neil Gaiman story? A couple of the scenes, kind of the stories do. There's a lot of stories. And there's stories within, unto infinity, just about. And one thing I regret about selling the DVD, I should have made a copy or something of this, is it actually had a chart, like not a diagram, but like an explanatory outline of, when one story broke off into a flashback of another story, and then a flashback, and then that one, and then on and on, and then how it got reeled back into the original story. Very detailed. It really helped me watching it, and unfortunately, that's not in the Blu-ray release. Damn it! But that is one I've been seriously considering reviewing, but it would take a couple of reviews to do it competently. But I just love that stuff. Of course, I love Zalowski and all of his. I think are brilliant. But anyway, this is a Polish, little known, as far as I know, little known horror film. So we're going to get down to it. I'm going to try to pronounce some of these names right and get some of this technical stuff out of the way so we can dive into the movie. So this one is called, seems to be pronounced WILCZYCA. You'll see the spelling on the video and on the thumbnail in the description. And this one came out in 1983. So once again, like my last installment, I'm reviewing an obscure foreign horror film from the early 80s on Shudder. So I had a theme there if I was going to do them in one, but I talked too much. WILCZYCA, set in 1848 Poland. So there's been like this unrest and this political stuff going on, and insurrections. I don't know enough about Polish history to know what happened, really happened, and B, if indeed it happened at all, or C, if it's factually accurate. But it is the backdrop for the film, and I like it. It kind of deals with these sort of quasi aristocratic characters, which is a little bit like the framing story for Saragossa manuscript. In that case, the guy's like a Napoleonic soldier, officer. He's a dandy, and he's very pompous, and he's very, his clothes are perfect, and he's very much of the upper class. And they got a then popular Polish rock star to play the character. That was very appropriate. I wasn't familiar with him, but I read that and I thought that was good stunt casting on the part of Mr. Wojciech Haas. So this guy also was some good casting, the star of this movie. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this movie. I am going to pause real quick because my virtual cheat sheet, just had an internet interruption. So hold on. Sorry, I have to keep an eye on this thing. Long story, internet problems. So let me return to where I was going to go. So I'm going to talk about, well, first of all, the original title of the film, I'll never be able to pronounce this. Nostina Farkas Kisortet. I don't know if that's right. Ghost of the Female Wolf. AKA the Wolfen. AKA the She Wolf. AKA the Chise Wolves. AKA the Wolf. I don't like. I hate the sites that just call this movie The Wolf. I mean, IMDb does that. They're like The Wolf. Originally, Vilchesa, and I'm like Vilchisa, and I'm like, dude, come on. There's probably 100 movies called The Wolf. Directed by Marek Piestrak, and very well directed. So yeah, the star is this liberation fighter, freedom fighter guy, and his name's Kaspar Wosinski. He is played by this actor named Krzysztof Jasinski. Uh, this site says he's just returned home from a long trip away, and the relationship he had with his miserable wife Marina Ivona Bielska wasn't a loving or good one before he left, and is about to get even worse. Okay, that's adequate description for now. Yeah, he's been away, and he goes off on these campaigns. I guess their fight. Again, I don't know what they were trying to liberate, or the way they're portrayed. The character Wosinski and his brother and friends who are governmentish people who have a stake in winning this revolution. They seem like good guys. They could be on the wrong side of history, but they're telling you from their point of view. So I'm just going to assume that they're the good guys. If there is such a thing in wars and revolutions and insurrections, I actually believe there are, but they're not always the one you think they are, or that we're told they are. So he comes home and his wife's dying, and she's just in bad shape. She's just done this insane thing. She was pregnant, and he doesn't even know if he alludes to the fact he doesn't even know if it's his. He was away so long, and we don't see this on screen, but we're told that she has ripped the unborn baby from her womb, and that she's very damaged inside. The Dr. Goldberg, I don't know why he was called Dr. Goldberg, but Dr. Goldberg, he's basically like, there's no hope. She's going to die. There's no hope. She's just torn up her insides. And I had recently encountered a true crime story, which I won't relay here at this time. Maybe another time. That kind of involved someone's kind of insides being ripped open by human hands, in that area, and it was pretty horrific. This really happened. But anyway, this is just a movie. Just a movie. So in this movie, she's on the bed, she's dying, there's blood on her sheets, but you don't see the aftermath or anything really. But just thinking about the doctor's words, were kind of sickening and gross, and you're just thinking she's just slowly bleeding out of her, So they're trying to figure out what her problem is, and she acts like she's pretty crazy uh, and mad at him, and he's like, "Why? What have you done? It's gonna be okay." And she's like, "Well, you called me a bitch. Well, I'm really a bitch." And I don't know if that's a literal translation of the Polish spoken language, but I think it is, because there's a pun on that later in the movie that makes total sense. Because the she wolf, a bitch would be a she wolf. But in the context when she says it, you don't really know. You're just assuming she's alluding to a fight. But why is she saying now you're going to find out I'm a bitch? Well, yeah, I don't think you're a bitch because you tore open yourself and took out your possibly our unborn baby. But I'm not going to think super fondly of you in this moment of distress. And so she passes, but she, makes some grand declaration, and a curse kind of thing, and she's going to be back as a wolf. So she's going to get him. She's going to get him. She's going to pay And like I said, he seems to be the good guy on the side of politically, and that kind of consumes his life. But he's not a good husband, and you do learn later in the movie that uh, they give his character nuance. He's sympathetic, and he's kind of the hero of the film. But he does later admit to calling her a bitch and hitting her. Uh, when he admits it, though, uh, the conversation between him and the doctor about it becomes kind of cut off by other plot machinations going on. But the impression I got was they were they were beginning to dive into not like she deserved it. I mean, maybe that's what one of them would have said, but more like she was cheating on me, and she was a mad woman, and I'm sorry I beat her. I'm sorry I hit her. So that does kind of come in the form of the doctor at the end of their conversation here, and just asking, "Did you love her?" And he says, "Like my own, unto my own soul." And he seems to mean it. So I don't know. People might read him as a politically incorrect character that should be canceled. Nowadays, wife beating scoundrel who used the mean word to his wife, and maybe he is. That's the thing we never find out for sure. Um, but I liked the character. I liked the actor. He was an odd character. He had a lot of odd mannerisms. I don't know if that was his acting or the director or just the tone the movie was going for. It didn't seem like other Polish horror films I've seen. It wasn't as polished. It was lower budgeted, but it didn't look meager or pitiful. But I mean, there were times when it looks like they were kind of running out of some of the period costumes for the background characters, and they kind of like pieced something together at the last minute. Um, but it definitely was a higher period level of period look than a film with Paul Naschy, for instance, or something of the Eurotrash era. Um, and that's not to knock those movies. I love them. Uh, but yeah, so she dies, and sure enough, in no time at all, he's whisked away into another adventure of the revolution. So that's when we get these other characters whose names I can't really pronounce, but I'm not sure. Well, first of all, he does decide to bury her, but the brother believes it's really a supernatural doing. The brother is named Mateusz, and he's played by Jerzy Pratzmowski. Now his answer is not silver bullets for everything, but I think they get the silver bullets at the end. I alluded to that in my last video um, about Alison's birthday. But he thinks a wooden stake is the answer. Now, there's no indication she's a vampire, but the brother is the superstitious guy, unlike our main character. And he insists, let's do something. She's cursed. You don't really understand. I saw how she was. And he does relate to the brother that, yes, she was unfaithful to you. She had affairs. She had orgies. She did some cruel things to people. So you're starting to think, maybe that, I don't know, maybe that's why he called her a bitch. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of stuff though this guy didn't know. And according to the brother, there's a supernatural taint to it. So we shouldn't just let her die. We need to make sure she can't come back as this wolf and haunt him. So the husband refuses to do it. So the brother gets a stake, and he takes the end of an axe and he stakes her, and they bury her, and that's that. The husband decides that's really the only way, and but he doesn't like it. And we're going to get to a decision where he changes his mind later. But in this case, it looks like that's going to take care of the problem. So it frees up this guy to, even though he's haunted by it, like mentally, he's able to kind of dive into this little plot. And he's got these two old cats. They're supporting characters. They're not crucial to the movie, but they do drive the plot. Count Ludwig, played by Stanislaw. I won't even try his last name. He actually key to the plot for one reason. uh, and he's got a buddy that goes with him. I don't know that guy's name. It doesn't list it here. And Ludwig's like, I'm going back to the revolution, back to the insurrection. I'm going to go, you know, viva la revolution. And will you take care of my house while I'm gone? I mean, now that you're out of the, you've served your term in the military on the front. Uh, Now your wife's dead. You got some free time. Why don't you keep an eye on my estate? I don't know when I'll be back. I don't know if I'll be back alive, but he seems to think he probably will. I'm thinking he probably won't. Um, and it's a real scattershot. The guy's kind of flaky, Ludwig, and I do think that's part of the writing and part of the plot. I mean, I think that's part of the point because he has this very aristocratic, poised, blonde wife named Julia, and she's very pampered and decadent. And apparently, she before he goes, she mocks her husband Ludwig, basically that he's sexually never been able to satisfy her, and he's an old creep, and who cares? Get out of my sight. And he's a total cuckold, and he's even like, let me go back one more time and talk to her and say goodbye properly. And they're like, you just saw her. You don't need to do this. Julia is also played by the star of the movie, Ivana Bielska. So Bielska plays Marina, the now dead wife of our main character, and also the wife of the count. I hit the wrong button. I didn't pause. I just hit the wrong button. So in this case, now that I know how to edit and fuse these things together, we'll keep going. Hopefully not too much longer. Yeah, so basically Wasinski, becomes the surveyor of the manor, and Julia and this soldier take up their affair, and Julia rejects Hortense very, very cruelly. And she's a very callous woman, and her eyes are very scary, and her teeth are very scary and jagged and weird looking. She's a beautiful woman, but she's just she's creepy. And it took me a while. Maybe I'm a dunderhead. It took me a while to figure out, oh, Ivana Bielska is playing both parts. Because I'd already thought maybe Marina's possessing Julia. I just was thinking it was a different actress. But no, it is the same actress. Her makeup's totally different in both characters. Now, of course, later when we encounter Marina, the undead Marina or the ghostly Marina, you kind of see that flicker in the eyes and that crazy teeth thing. You don't see much of that before she dies in the beginning. And those images where you do see her like that are kind of iconic. I'll probably put some in the thumbnail to this that I'm going to make. So, in any case, Julia, I'm coming at this neutral. I don't know what these people's lives are like, but my judgment is Julia is a bitch. So she doesn't need Jasper Wasinski to tell her that. She's a terribly vile and unpleasant woman, and very horny. And I keep thinking she's going to try to seduce our man, Wasinski. And Wasinski's a cool-looking guy. I mean, he's got really long hair that comes down to here. If I mentioned this earlier, it's because the video cut off, and I don't remember that I did. But I don't think that. He's got a long mustache, and he could look cheesy. Maybe to a lot of people he does, but I think he looks cool as hell. He's very much of his time, of the movie, 1983. Actually, he looks more like a 1973 movie character. So I guess they're going for a period thing, and his he's kind of got a silver military outfit, but not really. More like kind of the dandy, gypsy kind of guy. Love the costumes. I love watching Polish films, especially the period pieces for that kind of stuff. And like I said, this isn't the biggest budgeted movie in the world, but it's well what's the word, well adorned, well appointed. I think that's the phrase. So all right, so here's where things get crazy again. the soldier and her have this crazy affair. Meanwhile, wait, hold on. I've got to do one quick internet thing again. I have returned. Yeah, I was just double checking something on my notes. I came across the name of this handsome soldier. The site says he's a handsome soldier. He is not handsome. Believe me, he's not handsome. Otto von Furstenberg. Even his name's a little, stuffy. Played by Olgierd Lukasiewicz. But anyway, I was talking about their affair, and she's kind of blatant about that, and that kind of pisses off our man here, Wasinski. But Wasinski comes back from the trip where he accompanies Ludwig out of the country to make sure he's escorted safely, and then he goes back, and on the way back, he sees visions of the she-wolf, and things are getting creepy and weird. And, when he returns, he's got the Dr. Goldberg's back. He calls it swamp fever, and he's kind of in a delirium. He's having more visions. His beloved pet dog ends up dead. He finds it outside. It looks really realistic. I mean, you don't see any wounds per se. The dog is not moving at all, and there's blood. I'm sure it's fake blood, but I'm sure it's a real dog. Okay, then he picks the dog up, and he's just going to carry him back, which I thought was kind of sweet, that he's just going to he's not going to get like a trolley or something, or immediately bury him right there. He's going to pick him up and tend to him. And it's obviously a real dog. And yeah, it kind of moves a little bit, which made me feel better. But well trained, I got to say, to pull off the scene. Some animal actors are better than some human actors, and I really mean that. So yeah, he's all fucked up, man, contending with all this craziness, and who killed his dog and ravaged her, and of course, the brother comes back into the picture, and he starts playing up the supernatural thing, and he's like, look at her, look at this woman whose place you're domicile, you're taking care of. She looks just like Marina. He shows him the Marina picture. So Marina, when she was younger, had shorter hair, same actress. And then it flashes to Julia, and I guess it's what he sees, what Jaspik, whatever his name is, Wasinski, our main character, sees. And so he's kind of going a little nuts at this time, and he decides that he's finally going to listen to his occult-minded brother, which he should have done all along. I mean, he did let the brother stake it, but the brother said, "You should have been the one staking it. She was your wife. You're going to regret this." This is way back in that scene. I'm like, yeah, he really should have listened to his brother. He's probably starting to regret this. So he gets to a special doctor. Well, actually, it's not a special doctor. I looked at my notes. This says it's a special doctor. It's really just Dr. Goldberg again. Same doctor we've had through the whole movie. But I do see that he's played by Henryk Machalika. And he says he wants him to make a special bullet, forged of silver and soaked in holy water. Because hey, that's going to solve everything, man, So here's where we kind of get to the climax of things. Now, I was looking to see, make sure I didn't leave any other actors whose names I butchered or characters out. I mean, I mentioned Dr. Goldberg. I just didn't mention the actor's name. But I believe in giving credit where credit is due. And so what's funny is on this thing that I was just getting some info from, this person who he wrote a review after all these facts, and he really kind of hated the movie. Okay, so I liked the movie. He says here that it's slow and it's overrated. There's a torchbearer for the Polish horror genre, which maybe it is among critics of Polish horror. Me not knowing much about those waters as I'd like to, I just thought it was kind of a minor discovery, or maybe, yeah, a cult movie. I didn't think it was considered like, oh my God, like the V that I reviewed, the VIY, the Russian movie. I mean, that was a cult movie that is finally breaking in people seeing it on streaming and on Blu-ray. 55 years after it was made, and it was always held up as a torchbearer, as a landmark, a legendary film, in its day and in its locale. But us ignorant Westerners have just not, we just weren't hip to the V yet. The V is now very highly well regarded and with very good reason. Highly recommend it. Messing with the lighting again, it's getting a little dim here. So, yeah, he decides he's got to do it, and it gets a little haphazard after that, and you realize that Marina is back, that Julia is Marina, and she's taunting him, and she transforms into a wolf. Not any kind of howling American werewolf kind of transform, or not even a Voldemort kind of transformation. It's kind of oblique, and he's supposed to be, in his time in the military, allegedly this character was the top marksman. So he's got this really cool looking gun. He's got the bullet. He puts the holy water and he inscribes a cross on it. He's ready to go, man. I think he has multiple bullets in this gun. So hopefully he's done all of the bullets. They only show him putting the one bullet in. But he goes out in the snow, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it could have been more atmospheric, like this guy's saying over here. But I liked the look of it. It was kind of stark. The woods weren't exactly pastoral or overgrown, like a frightening wilderness, and the snow wasn't like dense and deep and mystical looking. But it looked kind of cheap, but it also looked real, and I like that. I liked the fact that it looked like it was just some place in Czechoslovakia in 1848 where there'd recently been a snow, and it's melting away. And he's kind of a dunderhead in his own way, as much as he regales the underlings as being stupid. But he's very clumsy. But we're informed in the plot ahead of time, and his mental state's falling apart. I don't know if it's just his swamp fever, whatever. He's bewitched essentially by her curse, and he's got the goods. He's talked to his brother. He's talked to the doctor. This shit's real. He didn't believe in any of it before. He didn't want to believe in it, but it's real. You are under a curse, dude. That curse was real. She wasn't just talking smack to you because you called her a bitch. And now she's transformed into a real bitch. I mean, to be using a charitable term, but I mean, I'm using it in the real sense, the real derivation. She is the she-wolf. The wolf is cool. But as far as wolfy movies, I have a subgenre I call wolfy horror, which only a few people will get. One of my friends, a really great artist, V.O. Wolf. Wolf, ladies and gentlemen, not a patron of the channel yet, but a supporter. Great artist, and she's into all kinds of things wolf-like. But I first told her wolfy horror was not just werewolf movies, but movies where wolves were, a malevolent threat, a major, plot point in a horror film. So the Wolfen, of course, comes to mind as definitely wolfy horror. So this is more like kind of low grade wolfy horror. It's not like this huge payoff where she's this, frightening, horrible creature. But the scenes of her ghost-like form are incredible. Her makeup is grotesque. I mean, I would say grotesque. I don't mean like, ripped chunks of flesh or giant popping pustules. I just mean she looks really fucked up, kind of like Evil Dead, some of that makeup. And this was the 80s, right? Was this around the same time Evil Dead came out? And I like her makeup. I think she looks wicked. And and the scenes where you see her at a long shot in a blue light, that's very much like a kind of scene that is used and overused in a lot of modern horror and low budget horror, and I think it's cool. He shoots and he misses, and he can't believe he missed. But then it's like, they come after him, of course. the soldier boy, nod to the boys. The soldier boy, the handsome soldier, who's a total moron. He comes after him and some of his Confederates, and they manage to shoot Jasper, I guess, Wilczynski. They shoot Wilczynski in the back. Uh, you can't tell what part of the back because the squib is so big and the blood splot on his white dandy ruffled shirt. But he manages to mount a horse. We've seen several times in the movie. He's really fast. This actor is super fast at mounting horses. And as soon as he's shot, he mounts the nearest horse and he's off. And they shoot, but they don't hit him. And which I kind of thought they would. But again, so does he live or does he die? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? The enigma around, I'm going to get his name right, god damn it. Sorry. The enigma around this cat named Caspar. Well, it's spelled Kacper. So I'm just going to say Casper. The enigma around this cat, Casper Wilczynski, is one of the things that fascinates me about the movie. Who is this hippie-looking soldier guy who is, and that's what I like, who is constantly bewildered and cursed and beaten down and all this other stuff. I like him. I like the character. Now the wolf, they said, well, I think he says to himself, I missed or did I? And because the wolf kind of yelps, but the wolf does manage to get away. And then we find Julia, and she has a really bloody wound on her hand. And she says, everything's okay. Everything's fine. It's no big deal. And that's kind of the movie, So, yeah, it was a curse. Sorry, my kitchen's a mess. It was a curse. She was the wolf. She did possess Julia. She did have a spirit that could, appear ectoplasmically. She did possess Julia, and Julia did transform physically into the she-wolf. So now that we've got all that straight, that's the movie. And I just want to say that I'm real fidgety. I've had a lot of caffeine today. But I really liked this movie. It had a charm to it. I couldn't stop watching it. It had a lot of funny things to it. And yeah. See, I need a camera move. I'm not drunk. I'm just very kind of hyper. I'm embarrassed by you guys seeing how messy my house is. That bugs me. But this is me, man. Getting the real me. Like the Who. It had a charm that kept me watching. Some of these scenes that they're silly or fussy, the characters are fussy or weird. To be honest, a lot of these fussy, weird habits they exhibit are pretty realistic. And I don't know if that's because, I don't know if they're ad-libbed by the actors, or the actors are just like that, or the writer and director said, hey man, have them act this way. I mean, they're just really eccentric, weird characters out there having that Polish liberation in 1848. That's how they acted back then. Because Piestrak, the director, he knows this for a fact. He's researched. He knows his shit. He knows she-wolves. He's got it. He's got down pat, man. So I'm kind of making fun of the movie, but also making fun of my own observations about it. I think they're on the money, but I also think they might not be. So I think this is one of these, watch it for yourself and decide, is it a torchbearer, as that guy said, that he was desperately expecting it to be, or was it, as he said, it turned out to be slow, dull, really, boring, and went nowhere, totally disappointing. It is meandering, but for some reason it kept my attention. And again, I wasn't under the influence of any substances. I just, for the record, I haven't smoked weed in 3 years at all. I haven't had weed. I think I had weed every day when Kelly was here. After she moved out, I smoked weed once with Scott before he moved out. So it was almost exactly 3 years. No marijuana. None of the other medications that I'm on made me high. but they do make me hyper. A combination of meds I'm on right now does make me very hyper, and sometimes people at work are like, are you high, man? You on drugs?" I'm like, "I'm on drugs. They're prescription drugs." But yeah, aren't we all on drugs? Like, like Sam said in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, nicotine is a drug, caffeine's a drug, but they are legal drugs. I said it to a guy at work the other day. This kid was telling this customer about drinking a lot of caffeine, and he was basically saying that I try not to, but when I drink it, I get out of control. I get wild, man. This kid's really crazy. No, I mean, he's a nut in a good way, and he's like a Jesus freak, and I mean that he is a Jesus freak, and he doesn't witness too much, so I can handle it. But he's like 19 years old. He should have been seized by that cult I talked about in the last movie. But he was a male, had to be a female. But he is gay, so I don't know. But he's like, I go out of control when I'm on caffeine. And then the woman goes, "Well, yeah, but I mean, at least it's not like you're on drugs or whatever." And he goes, "Well, now we know caffeine is a drug." And then I turned around and said, "And nicotine is a drug. They're legal drugs." And he laughed, even though he's never seen that movie, the Twin Peaks movie. But yeah, I'm on more prescription meds. But I have been drinking tea. I don't have it here. I put it in the freezer. It does have an amount of caffeine. It's called Awake. It's a Tazo tea. I showed it to y'all in another video. And y'all are like, "God, I wish you'd stop going on about this mundane shit. I don't give a fuck what you're drinking. I don't care about this. I don't care how high you are. Except when it interferes with my ability to understand what the fuck you're trying to convey. It isn't right now." So, like I said earlier, I said on my previous video, I am going to try to do some more videos this evening. I am not in physical pain right now. My mood is good. The heat is affecting my brain, and not in a good way, but I've got it kind of managed for right now. I am drinking a lot of ice cold drinks, and I may partake of some cocktails later. I don't have anywhere to be tomorrow, and so you never know. But for now, I bid you adieu. My point, of course, at the end here was that my perceptions of things normally is not like everyone else's. I mean, it may be impacted by prescription drugs, but it's also impacted by my environment, my life, what's going on in my brain, situations, which I've told you all about before. Doing this kind of stuff and waxing on and on, whether I'm dead serious or being really silly, this is therapeutic for me, and this is cathartic, and this is something I enjoy. I hope these videos they didn't kill the buzz, because the channel is starting to kind of blow up, as they say, on a minor scale, and I'm really happy about that. I don't want to fuck that up. But anyway, some of this I enjoy doing. These two movies I watched yesterday and are talking about today, there was plenty to joke around about them. But my bottom line was I recommend them both. But your mileage may vary, of course, as they say. Have a couple of friends who weren't crazy about them, and that's all. It's all good. It's all good in the hood, and I'll be back soon, broadcasting from the hood live. I treat these like live streams. That's kind of why I'm into the no editing, just keep talking thing, because I love watching live streams. That's it. Rock on, my friends, and did I hit the right button here? Yep. See you soon. Please like and subscribe, like it's probably on the screen right now. Please. Thank you.